Oh, dearie me, we're started. We are started. We're gonna have a chat, see what goes on. And TikTok has got a new queue service. I don't know what that is, but I have created one. So I don't know how it works or what it does, um, or anything like that. Um, so we just have to wait and see what goes on. If people are joining, I'll find out pretty soon. You want to, I don't know, you want to like and comment and share and ask questions. Lung Tag has joined. How are you going, Lung Tag? So, someone's asked me for a meeting. So I am just up migration.com. So I'm just updating that. This post is taking off. I don't know why I get those, but they drive me insane. I'm almost to the point of, I'm almost to the point of getting the next version, that is the of Aussie Visa Mate out, and that in the toolkit has the state sponsorship wizard. So you'll be able to enter in your occupation if you're an ITCT's test engineer and you've got 12 months work experience in Australia, nothing overseas, currently working in your nomination. Then what state are you living? Well, let's say you're in New South Wales and you've lived there for 3 years and you studied your degree here, you meet all the 2 study requirements, bang, you're not eligible. So, not yet anyway. I've only done 4 of the 8 states. I've still got more to go. So we just have to wait and see. Not yet anyway. I've only done 4 of the 8 states. Okay, so we're up to 5 people watching. That's good. We've got some watches happening. I can't find this queue thing that I signed up for anywhere showing, but that's all good. So look, while we're waiting for people to join, if you've got any questions, ask away. But you can see on the screen there, I've got, if you're after Aussie Visa Mate, the app that I am using. If you need Aussie Visa Mate, you can download that from the App Store. And if you can't find it in the App Store, then you can simply go to, oh, that's probably not a good page to be on, this one. You can go to avm.dragonmigration.com. That'll take you directly to the App Store. It's a redirect. And if you want to, oh, hey, bud, does business revenue count for the 186? Ghost Head? No, it doesn't. What does count? What is required is the business has got to maintain. Well, when a minute doesn't. The business has got to be able to show that it can pay their staff, right? So if the business is not making money, well, if you're not making money, it's not like the 482, right? Well, it's very similar to the 482. The business has got to show that it's making money, and it's got to show that it's a good sponsor, or a good employer, that it's paying their superannuation and it's turning over, it's paying its GST and it's lodging its BAS statements and things like that. So if you're a good corporate citizen, that's cool. But like in Australia, the example I use is mining companies, right? If you're digging for gold, as it were, you haven't sold anything, you haven't found anything, you're exploring and all that kind of stuff. But these companies have got millions of dollars, they've got $10 million there, but they just keep losing money and losing money. So it doesn't, you don't need to, you don't need to be profitable, but you need to show that you're not a $2 company. that that you've got the assets to pay your staff. And the thing is that businesses that aren't doing well tend to be the ones that don't lodge their BAS statements, because when you lodge your BAS statement, you've got to pay tax, right? So they don't want to incur the expense. So, you know, if you lost but a lot of businesses are trying to lose money because they don't want to pay tax, right? They've got creative accounting going on. So it just all depends. Some businesses aren't making money because they've had a big capital expenditure and they've got huge depreciation. So they spent a lot of money last year, and they're depreciating this year and next year. So they've got a tax loss, right? So every situation is different. Look, if you're doing it, and I say this all the time, if you're doing a work visa application, you should be using a migration agent so that they can lodge it and make sure that you're compliant. It's a very technical visa. Every case is different, and not the kind of thing you can do yourself. Louis, and if you want to have book an appointment, I've got that on the screen now. Meeting.dragonmigration.com. You can book one right there. I have a Philippines outsource accountant staff who wants to move to Australia and would like to help. She's your staff. So, well, you need to pay her. If she'd have to be an accountant. She'd have to meet all the caveats for accountants, which aren't a part of my app, but accountants have got all these things that they need to do, the kind of companies that they can work for, and you need to pay them in Australia on an Australian wage. So there's a lot of things you need to look into, but yeah. Do you want her to move here permanently? Do you want to help her out in that way, or do you want to help her out in just getting her to Australia? It'd be good for your business and all the rest of it. Louis, book an appointment with me or send me a DM afterwards to find out exactly what your motivation is, what your end goal is, and then I can help you from that. Okay, somewhere. Where's that going? I don't know. Okay, I just said 2 new messages. Okay, rightio. Encourage users to share and invite more. So share and invite more people. Hitting on the like button. You just have to tap the screen. Yesterday we got up to 85 in 2 hours. We got up to 8,500 likes, which is pretty cool. So if you just sit there tapping the screen, we get more people involved, which is good. 3 non. I'm living in Queensland, rural. Applied for 491. I'm a registered nurse, living and working there. What do you think? Well, if you've applied for, have you applied for it, or have you just lodged an application? Have you applied? Have you just registered as a part of an expression of interest, or did you get an offer and you've lodged your 491? If you lodged your 491, well, you just have to sit there and wait. If you're working as a registered nurse, I'd get on a 482, and you're going to get PR faster. So that's what I'd be looking at. I can't see where this thing is for whatever. Ghosthead, I'm 6 months short for 3 years after qualification. What do you reckon would be the great idea? Well, you only need 12 months work experience to get on a 482. So get on a 482 and start working. That, like, if the 482 fails, then the 186 will fail as well. So yeah, just get on a 482. Why wouldn't you? User 839, as a welder, when can I expect 190 grant? It's already been 16 months. So let's have a look at the processing times. They are there in Aussie Visa Mate. The 190 processing times, well, they're currently 17 to 25 months for 50% of cases. So yeah, you might still have another year. They've just done a 189 round, and so all the 189s are going to start taking priority processing over the 190s again. I doubt you'll get one before Christmas, put it that way. Yes, it might even well be longer if they do another big round of 10,000 in November. You just have to wait and see. Stick with it. But congratulations, you're going to get your PR. So unless you've developed some sort of communicable health disease or beat someone up down the pub. Senorita, 20 hours a week. Does paid sick rec leave count as well? Do they go average? Do they go average of 2 weeks? So if you need supply, they don't average you 2 weeks. If you have to use weekly pay slips to prove your income, like if you're paid fortnightly, well, they're not going to know, are they? Right? But if you're paid weekly, then 1 week's going to say 12 hours and 1 week's going to say 32 or something like that, right? So the week that it says 12 won't count. It sort of depends a bit on whether you're what your pay cycle is. Does sick leave and rec leave count? Well, if it's part of your annual leave, it counts. But if you're on unpaid sick leave, well, you're not getting paid. You're effectively not working. So sick leave counts if you have a sick day. That's fine. If you're a casual, you're not getting paid. So you're already paid as part of your salary. So your leave's going to be unpaid. It won't count. So all your paid entitlements count. Gruel, Melbourne, 12 years. Miss Amy, attorney, can I ask? Just don't ask for permission. Ask questions. Yeah, help her move here permanently, Louis. Okay. So, you can just do a direct entry application, and that's going to get her here permanently. She'd need to do a skills assessment, and she'd need to meet the caveats, and you'd need to guarantee to employer, or promise, it's not really a guarantee, you need to promise to employ her for 2 years. And she need to meet all the other requirements. She'll have to, have the English tests and things like that. But you can certainly do it. You want to do, if you don't want to, if you're happy with her just living over in the Philippines until she gets her permanent residence, then just do a 186 direct entry. Processing time's currently 12 to 18 months. But you'll need to have a skills assessment. She'll need to have 3 years full-time work experience, which she might have with you. I don't know. Shovey, can you talk about 186 visa processing times? Okay, let's talk about that. You can keep up to date with 186 visa processing times in Aussie Visa Mate, the app for migrants. The department updates the processing times usually in the last week of the month. Sometimes people will come onto the chat and say they've just updated this, and then I'll update it straight away. But basically that's the story. There's 3 streams: 186 direct entry, labour agreement, which is obviously a lot faster. Well, it's not obviously a lot faster, but it is a lot faster. And 186 transition, which is 14 to 18 months, which is just completely outrageous. But 12 to 18 months for direct entry. So look, for all their talk about migration planning levels, the employment stream is not capped. It's capped it's what we call a soft cap. They say we're going to do 40,000, we're going to process 40,000, but there's about 90,000 people who are going to be eligible this year to apply. So there's a lot more demand for what they're actually staffing it. So these processing times are just going to get worse until they fix up their staffing issues. Doesn't really affect the number of people in Australia, because everyone on transition, which is the greater majority, or in lab agreements, are already here. They're just trying to move from a temporary visa to a permanent visa. So anyway, you got to stick with it. It's a real problem actually, because the processing times take so long. If you lose your job, if the business goes under, if the business gets sold, which happens all the time, even listed companies have mergers and things like that. It completely screws your application. You don't get your money back, and you probably have to start again. We had a case, I don't know, 3 months ago, where a guy had been waiting for 9 months, and he could no longer lodge another or maybe, no, 15, I think he'd been waiting 14 months. 14 months, and he was past the 12 months, because you've got to have had, for transition, you've got to have had your 482 visa for 2 of the last 3 years. So it was gone 14 months. He was on a bridging visa and he wasn't eligible, blah, blah. So, yes, what can I say? They should be processed a lot faster. Cricket lover, hello. What about motor mechanics? Didn't the cricket ask me about motor mechanics previously? Mechanics. Motor mechanics. Obviously, there's diesel mechanics and motor mechanics. So motor mechanics are on the, let me just having a drink. They're eligible for general skills migration, but you'd need 85 points, and last round they didn't do any. State offers, let's have a look. It's listed on a couple, all the states, 3, 6. Queensland was the only state that didn't accept motor mechanics, and in the regional areas, they all accepted motor mechanics except for the ACT. And of course, you can get sponsored. There's plenty of jobs for motor mechanics. If you're in the country, you should be able to find a sponsor. If you go to my job sponsorship section, motor mechanics, there's lots of companies. The ones in blue are, sorry, the ones, I'm showing, going colourblind. The ones in green are the ones that are people currently advertising on their websites or on Seek or LinkedIn or wherever. User 839, no point asking any more. I've answered your question. Let's have a look. Lemine, I'm an agricultural scientist. I have overseas experience. Can I do a skills assessment? Yes, you can do a skills assessment. Don't know whether you're eligible for it or not. Depends on your degree, all that kind of stuff. You'd have to look it up. If you need assistance, drop me a DM or send me an email to inquiries@dragonmigration.com and I will help you out. I'll charge you, of course, but Shovit, can you have done that? Ooks. Any job for administrations or logistic? I live in PNG. Logistics, I don't think, is something that is listed. Maybe it's under supply chain or something like that. Logistics manager. No. I had a guy I spoke to from PNG a couple of weeks ago, and effectively he was better off becoming a forklift driver than he was trying to be a logistics manager. And he already had a forklift driver license. Sometimes you got to live. Like if your goal is to get to Australia, maybe it's not about your career anymore. Maybe it's about, doing what you got. If you got a forklift driver, if you're a forklift driver and you're driving around the factory or whatever, then that's on a Dharma agreement, and you can move to Far North Queensland, anywhere in the Northern Territory, Goulburn, Victoria, the Kimberley in Western Australia, or Arana, New South Wales. You'd need to have 3 years full-time work experience as a forklift driver and do the various things, get a skills assessment. You'd have to get to Australia somehow. No one's going to employ a forklift driver from overseas. But that's the options for you. Joyson, send me 10 roses. We're away. We're off with the gifts. Don't we appreciate that? We'll get us joining up the channel, which is good. Sharing the live, encouraging more viewers, hitting the likes. We're up to 3,400. Someone's tapping away, which is great. Jayhon B9. Aren't you upset your parents called you that? Like, really? I work. Doris is back. Doris is tapping. Okay, good on you, Doris. Thank you very much. I worked in New Zealand as an exterior plasterer for 3 years. I'm actually in Japan. Can I get a work visa? So you would be, I think, a solid plasterer. And if you've got 3 years work experience, then you're probably capable of getting a skills assessment, but you'd need an extra year for your work experience. So if you're not qualified, but you did 3 years, well, your 3 years is the equivalent of your Cert 4 or your diploma, which is your education. And then you'd still need another year as an external plasterer in order to be eligible for a work visa. You could come to Australia as a trainee on a 407 visa, get your 12 months that way, or I don't know how old you are, working holiday visa, come as a student, work 12 or 2 years part-time. Just having the 3 years without being qualified wouldn't be sufficient. Adele, what happened if my partner is on a working visa here in tap people, tap. We've only got 12 people watching. Anyway, we're up to 4,000. It's hump day. Maybe everyone's at the pub. What happens if my partner is on a working visa here in Australia? So I'm not quite sure, Adele, because I don't know if you're a migrant or if you're a citizen. So if you're a citizen, then or a permanent resident, then your partner can get a spouse application, and they can go that way. They might want to do an employer application, because PR through employment is only $5,000 and PR through a spouse application is $10,000. So so that might be the thing. Now, if you're not a citizen or permanent resident and you're here on a working visa, or maybe you're still offshore, I don't know, then your partner can add you to their work visa by lodging a subsequent entry application. They need to get their employer's permission and a letter from them to do that. Or maybe you're waiting offshore until they apply for direct entry, 186 direct entry, and then they're going to include you on the direct entry application. That might be a timing issue. I'm not exactly sure, but certainly you've got options there. If you want to discuss those options and give me more facts about your case, you can book a meeting with me, meeting.dragonmigration.com, and we can check that all out. Senorita, I applied for 491 instead of 190 as a registered nurse, as getting competitive in Queensland. 189 hoping next round at 75. Well, with lots of nurses, I don't know what your criteria is and stuff. We'll be getting next week, in the start of October, we'll get the numbers of how many they took back in August. So we'll sort of know how many people. We know what the cutoff was, but we don't know how many people were still there. So if you've got Aussie Visa, mate, you'll be able to keep up to date with that. All the rest of it. Hamza. Do chefs need a diploma or just a Cert 4? Chefs need a diploma. You need to get a skills assessment as chef, and the criteria is a diploma. Hard copy. Who's that? Is that guy? When I was living in Byron, whoever that hard copy guy was, he came up. He came up twice actually. I saw him twice in subsequent years. In January, there's a big comedy festival at Brunswick Heads, and he was up in Byron. Can you please talk about the prospective marriage visa processing time? Sure. Look, I don't recommend the prospective marriage visa in 99% of cases. You're much better off if you are eligible, registering your relationship and just applying directly for a spouse application. If you've probably lodged the prospective marriage visa. The processing times now are 13 to 27 months. So 27 months is a bloody long time to wait just so you can get married. And then once you get married, you got to go to the back of the spouse queue and apply for a spouse visa. And then once you've got that one, which is going to take another 18 months, maybe 2 years, by the time you've got that one, then you need to apply for second stage processing. I mean, you're turning your PR journey into a 5-year nightmare. Your relationship could very well be over before you get, before they get their permanent visa. So look, just if you can, skip that. Get married offshore in a friendly jurisdiction, which is that's a jurisdiction where it's easy to get divorced from if things fall apart, and just make a spouse application is what I recommend to people. Unless, if you're in Western Australia or the Northern Territory or in Tasmania, then you can't you can't use a relationship register. Tasmania's got one, but it requires both people to be in the state. If both people are in the state, you just get married, and so you wouldn't need a PMV. Shovik Khatri, can we resign after a 186? Well, look, the short answer is yes. You're a permanent resident and you can do whatever you want. You've got freedom of movement, freedom of expression, freedom of work, etc. It's called the employer nomination scheme because the employer's just nominating you. They're not sponsoring you. You're no longer bound to them. Part of the application, this is the bad side of it, part of the application is that you say that you're going to work there for 2 years and they say they're going to employ you for 2 years. There have been cases, certainly a couple of cases where someone's done a direct entry application and the employee has landed in Australia and said, fuck you, I'm not going to work for you. Hasn't even started work or worked there for a month, I think, in one case. And then the employer complained to the department and said, we've been waiting so long for this guy and we've paid money out for his visa and he's not working for us. And the department's cancelled the visa. They said they weren't a genuine applicant. They didn't meet the criteria for the visa. They had no intention of working for the 2-year period. And that went to the ART or the AAT back then. And the AAT agreed with the department and that person got, removed from Australia at the border. We've got their visa cancelled. They had to leave. So it depends. If you're a direct entry applicant and you're offshore or you've never worked for the company before, then you want to be careful. If you're gonna resign, you want to have a job to go to in your field that's paying you more. So that if they say, well, why did you leave? You can say, well, I was offered $80,000 here, and as soon as I arrived, I got offered $100,000, so I took that job. So you've got a decent reason. You're still working in the field. You're still, looking after the Australian economy. But you're personally better off because you're personally getting paid more. But if you just don't want to live there, or you want to be unemployed, or you want to lay on Bondi Beach for a year, it's no go. Now, it's a bit different if you've been on a 482 because you've been working for the company for a couple of years, and there's usually an expectation. Like I've sponsored people on 186. Usually, it's an expectation that they're going to resign after the 186 is granted because it's sort of it's a reward or bonus that they're getting for working for you for 2 years. Some people stay. I think the figures are about 50-50. About 50% of people continue employment and the other 50% move on. The other thing that you've got to also consider is that if you're on a 482 work visa, you're stuck in your occupation, and particularly if you're in IT, you might be originally employed as an analyst programmer, but you're sort of being held back. You can't move to systems admin, you can't move to networking, you can't become a business analyst, you can't become a project manager because your occupation is going to change and that's going to affect you. I know it's a little bit more flexible than it was previously, but a lot of people, once they get their PR, go, okay, well, now I can do my real job, and they start applying for more senior jobs now that they're based in Australia. So every case is different. There's no cut and dried answer, but the short answer is you can, but you run risks if you're sort of breaking any implied rules or promises that you may have made in the application process to either the government or your employer. Cineretta, do points matter for Queensland 19491? They mentioned points aren't that important. Every state is different. It's up to them who they choose to nominate and send. I've just done Queensland actually, but some states, I think did Canberra. Canberra says that if you're a ANSCO 1 or 2, you need to have proficient English or superior. So you need IELTS 7, or they won't consider you. The Northern Territory says that you've got to have worked in there for 2 years, which is an enormous amount of time, and then you're going to get a visa. So all the states can have their own criteria. They don't just go by points. But if it gets down to you and someone else who meet all the additional criteria, then the person who has the highest points and the date of application should be the defining characteristics. Like at the end of the day, if they don't use points, then why would you nominate someone who's got less points than someone else? Because the extra points is going to help someone who's got higher points. If you've got 5 points or 10 points less than someone else, you probably don't have enough points to get a GSM application through. So can I talk about the 681? I don't know what the 681 is. I think you mean the 186, and I've talked about it at length there. Bakal, Giri, 186 labour agreement lodged in April, aged care in regional area. Congratulations. We looked at the 186 labour agreements, processing time 5 to 9 months there. So if you lodged it in April, May, June, July, August, September's almost over, that's 5 months. You've got to be pretty close, champ. Got to be pretty close. You'll be happy when you get that, I'm sure. How about cinematographer? I've got 10 years experience. Well, cinematographers, you'd have to be sponsored. So effectively, like you can't I've got a master's in film, so I know a fair bit about film. You can't just work on a project by project basis as a cinematographer. You would need to, and it sort of depends on what your occupation is. I don't think it's listed as cinematographer, but I could be wrong. Cinema or theatre manager, no. Film editor. So you got camera operators for film, television, or video. So if you're a cinematographer, or if you're a DP or something like that, you'd need to work for an organisation that's going to have a job for you for 2 years plus another year. So you need ongoing work, not just project to project or self-employed like most of the industry is. So you really need a position working in a television studio or in a production house where they have internal staff. You're going to have a very difficult time finding work, I'd have thought. But that's your pathway. If you're a super famous cinematographer, then you might be able to get a some sort of they used to call them distinguished talent visas. I don't know what they're called now. So I only ever processed one. They do 500 a year, but they're for people of international reputation. So if you've won an Academy Award or a BAFTA or something like that, then you might be able to apply independently. But as you can see on the 189s, they're not eligible. They're only eligible for for state sponsorship. They're not even on the CSOL at the moment, so you can't even get a work visa. And of course, like most countries, the unions are all over supporting the local unemployed film staff rather than bringing people into the country. Hamza, as a chef, what was the rest of your question? I said you need to have a diploma. Prashil sent me a heart me. Thank you. Heart me's apparently are a good thing to do. It might cost you a cent, but it helps out the channel apparently. So if you see a join my thing on my skull from TikTok, then heart me. Send me a heart me. Camilla, painters. Let's have a look at painters. So painters can apply for general skills migration. They needed 70 points and were accepted at the last cutoff. they're also listed for state sponsorship and for what was I talking about? And for work visas. So if you get a job as a painter, then you need to. God, I'm feeling a bit slow today. Yeah, if you get a job as a painter, you need to be working on a tax file number. You can't be working as a subcontractor as on an ABN. You need to have a direct employment relationship. All trades are like that, but I know painters, they tend not to be working in their field directly. They tend to be subcontractors. So you need to sort of sort yourself out. As you can see there, in the States, Western Australia was the only one who offered state sponsorship, and in regional areas, Western Australia as well. So WA, and my toolkit has got the state sponsorship wizard about to come out. You better enter in painters and all your details for your location, where you are, and whether or not you're a student, and it'll give you the results, tell you which states you are eligible for. That's coming out later this week, probably tomorrow. I've got 4 more states to finish off. So complex, state sponsorship. I mean, it's an absolute nightmare area. How's it work with blue card qualified carpenters from the UK? So carpenters are carpenters. You need to, I don't know what a blue card is, but a lot of states but probably not all of them, a lot of states require tradies to be licensed or registered with the state body. So you need to check out the licensing and registration requirements for the state you're going to move to. Carpenters, as part of the actual process, oops, I'm in the wrong spot. Go here. No. Go here. So carpenters can apply independently. They needed 65 points. They got offered at the last round. We don't know how many. The app says there's currently 159 people already on 65, so they didn't exhaust all the people who were there. And state sponsorships, New South Wales, Western Australia, Queensland, South Australia, and Victoria. They're the ones who did state sponsorships, but there's only 415. Yeah, you might get state sponsorship if you're eligible for state sponsorship in one of those states. You need to check out the criteria. A lot of the states require you to be qualified to be registered in their state, so you need to do the registration before you apply. And you need to have at least 12 months work experience and be currently, most of them require you to be currently employed. So, John, probably the best thing to do is jump on a tourist visa, get out here and find work in the field. If you've been to Australia before, then you might know the lay of the land. If you don't know the lay of the land, then get out here. Certainly, Perth. I'm not sure about the Victorian economy, to be fair, but Perth, Sydney and Brisbane have all got booming construction businesses. How long do you have to work for a company to be able to apply for DAMA? So I think most of the DAMA agreements require 12 months. Some of them, they might be 6 months. Some of them, they might allow you, it might be 12 months, but you can use the time that you spent doing your aged care course, because you would have done some time during your aged care course, that kind of thing. They're all different, so there's no single answer to that. But generally speaking, if you don't have a qualification, you need to do 2 years. Say you're a truck driver, you need to do 2 years work experience to get your qualification. If you've got your qualification in Australia, you probably don't need to do a skills assessment, but you need to check the DAMA. and then you're going to need 12 months of work experience in Australia, but not necessarily working for the employer. But if you're working for the employer and you meet the qualifications, they can apply for you straight away. The process takes almost 12 months, I suppose, by the time the Dharma regional processing person does their sponsorship component, and then it goes to the department and all the rest of it, and gets processed. So currently on 182. How many years, maybe that's a 482. How many years do you have to work for the same company to be eligible for PR? Right, so if you've been on a 482, which is the standard work visa, on the core skills, if you're on core skills, you only need to do 2 years. Doesn't need to be with one company, just needs to be 2 years on the 482. If you're on the 482 in a labour agreement, you need to read the labour agreement. It says what, and see what that says. It probably says 3 years, and then you can apply for the 186 transition with the labour agreement stream. So, Raphael, you need to look at your labour agreement. South Australia's just updated their, you're in South Australia's just updated their Dharma agreement, so you only need 2 years on your 482 to be able to get your 186. Okay. Cigar, can you please tell if someone is a truck driver? Can I tell? Okay, so if you're a truck driver, firstly, you're not going to get a job while you're in Canada, so you're going to need to have to get to Australia. Now, you have to get to Australia in any event, because to make an application, apart from getting a job and having a sponsor, you need to have a heavy truck driver's license. So you need to get an Australian driver's license. So if you go to my app, Aussie Visa Mate, and you enter in, or you go down to Dharma agreements and you enter in truck driver, okay, it'll list the agreements where truck driver is listed. Far North Queensland, which is Cairns, anywhere in Western Australia, or the Northern Territory, anywhere in regional South Australia. Then we've got Orana in New South Wales, South Coast Victoria, Goulburn, Victoria, or Townsville, right? So there's plenty of places, but you're not going to be working out of Melbourne or Sydney or Brisbane, right? But you need to have 3 years work experience. If you've got 3 years work experience anywhere in the world, get to Australia, get your truck driver's license here in Australia, and find an employer who's willing to sponsor you in one of these regional areas, or anywhere in Western Australia or the Northern Territory. Head to Darwin, head to Perth, head to regional South Australia, and you can get sponsored and get a Dharma agreement. It's that simple. The Jinx, safety advisor. The Jinx, why haven't you downloaded my app? I've seen you in the channel before. Just download the app. Look it up. Dharma agreements, you wanted 482s. Okay, well, it's not listed for the 189, so you've got no chance there, the Jinx. It's listed for regional, and it's not on the CSOL, so no chance for a 482. So Dharma agreement is what you need. You're not, even though it's listed for regional, it's not being given any offers. So your only option is a Dharma agreement, the Jinx. And if you had my app, you'd know. So download the app, Aussie Visa Mate, and you'll the app for migrants. You'll be in the system. Prashil, safety advisor. We've done that. Please don't ask the same question multiple times. It just takes me forever to get back when it scrolls ahead. Prashil, tile layer. And you can always book an appointment with me and have all the time to yourself. Tile layers are floor and wall tilers, or roof tilers. There's two different types. Roof tilers are not on the list, and wall and floor tilers are. So if you're a wall and floor tiler, then you can get a work visa. You might be offered, but they didn't offer many people. The cutoff was 65 in the last round. There's only 50 people in the queue though, so maybe you'll get lucky. But otherwise you need work. Sir, your voice is not clear. It's coming with so much echo. Don't know why. Don't know why. Because I've got a professional microphone and it's running through a professional system. There shouldn't be any echo. But anyway, let's have a listen. I can listen to myself. Anyway, let's have a listen. I can listen to myself. Now I've got an echo of an echo. So I don't know. Maybe it's the maybe it's because of the whatever this is called. Anyway, can't fix it at the moment. It's not peaking on on Streamlabs, so I don't know why there's a issue. Can you get your 482 been working in the company for 6 years and willing to sponsor? Is it possible? Tanui, if your occupation is on the CSOL, then and you're getting paid the minimum salary, yeah, you should be able to. Like if you qualify, you've obviously got the work experience, but there's other criteria. Can I apply for a sponsorship or to partner visa while I'm waiting for my appeal applying offshore or onshore? Camillo. So can I apply for a sponsorship or to partner visa while I'm waiting for my appeal? I don't know what your appeal is and I don't know what bridging visa you're on. So if you're doing a 482 sponsorship, I'm pretty sure you need to have bridging visa A, B or C. If you've got E, you don't have a chance. Partner visas, you can apply onshore, but you need to have a Schedule 3 waiver. So it sort of depends on your situation. It's not the kind of thing that you can just answer in a live stream. You should book an appointment and I can get all your facts and tell you what you should be doing. Mr. Alphabet, what visa do you recommend for my husband? He's been working as an engineer here in the Philippines for 20 years, 55 years old. He's too old. Can't even get a Dharma agreement. He's too old. And he's married, so he can't even marry an Australian. So there's no age limit on a work visa. If he got a job in Australia, and they wanted to employ him on a work visa, he could do that until he ceases working, but there's no permanent option for him currently. Swagminder, just graduated in Masters in Social Work from Sydney, now in my TR, should I move state? Well, the state you need to be in as a social worker is the state of employment. So social workers are listed on the CSOL. You can get sponsored. In terms of states, New South Wales, Victoria and Western Australia, New South Wales sponsored, so maybe you'll get a Guernsey in New South Wales, I don't know. But if you get employment, you can get a 482 visa and you're guaranteed pathway to PR. So I really hope you can get 12 months experience. You might already have that because you've done a degree in social work before you came here and did a master's. How does the work opportunity for mechanical fitter? Hi, how does the work opportunity look for mechanical fitters? 100%. Well, I don't know anything about the market. It's on our fitters are on the list of in-demand occupations, so you can be sponsored as a fitter, but I can't tell you. I can't tell you where the high areas of demand are. I don't know anything about that industry. Camillo, if you've got a Schedule 3 waiver, so the automatic, it's a waiver, it's discretionary. You need to show you've got a compelling reason for them. You need a compelling reason. Compelling is actually a very low bar. It legally it means that you feel moved. So if people think, they feel moved, when you tell them your sad story, then the waiver should be granted. The lay down misères are if you've been married for 3 years or if you've got a child, then the department's policy is to grant those waivers. But otherwise, you need a compelling reason, not a compassionate reason, a compelling reason why you can't leave. And the compelling reason, it could be something like, your partner's been in a car accident and you're the main breadwinner, so they can't work, they need your income, or they've lost their job. Something's happened, which means you really can't be separated because financially you might lose your home or your car or something like that. It's usually got to be something that's beyond your control, so it can't be a fabricated situation. Again, look, if you're on appeal and you need a waiver, what you need is a migration agent. So book an appointment to discuss. Boo one, why the visa process so long? Any sign of improvement? Boo one, it's really quite simple. The people who are planning are basically picking numbers out of their head. They don't represent the number of applicants that we're getting every year. And so with more applicants and the same number of staff, it's taking longer to process all streams. So do I see a sign of improvement? I do not. So fixing wages is the only way to fix this country. Okay. It's an interesting statement. Helen, good question, especially when we've paid so much in fees. Well, that's it, of course. It's I think it's outrageous. I think it's really outrageous for spouse applications. But the reality is that the government, no, in fact, they did TikTok on it. We could just stop taking applications for the next 2 years, and we'd still be under the processing. We've got that many people in the queue. We could stop taking applications. Now, if we stop taking applications, the government is not going to get about $2 billion in revenue for each of those 2 years. That's how much money we've taken off people before we process things. And because of the accounting quirks, the accounting system assumes that when you pay a government fee, you get the government service. Not that something that's delayed 2 years or 14 years for contributing parent visas or 31 years for aged parent visas. They bank that money and say thank you very much. So if we stop taking applications, the budget would actually be $2 billion worse off because we wouldn't have any income, but we'd still be incurring all the expense of running the department. So yeah, right to the minister. So let them know. We've done the Jinx. We've done Segwinda. Helen's done an 820. At least you're on shore, Helen. Hopefully you got work rights as well. Milano, I'm based in South Africa. I'm a HVAC technician with 6 years without a trade cert. So Milano, your first 3 years, that's going to be your trade certificate equivalent. And then you've got 12 months worth of experience. So you'll be qualified. So I think HVAC, you need a DARMA agreement. That's it. They work in mines and things like that. That's my understanding. Heavy vehicle. Oh, I could be wrong. But anyway, look, you're qualified, right? So if you get to Australia, you'll be able to get you meet all the other criteria. You've got a job, you get the income, etc. You've got the English requirement, then you'll be able to get sponsored on that or get a skills assessment. A government department's able to sponsor work visas. Well, they are, but they don't, right? The state governments don't because they're not here to employ overseas nationals. They're here to employ Australians. So some of the what do they call them? The government business entities, they might register or whatever. So like the Road Traffic Authority or those kind of places, they might register and employ people. But if you're talking about like the public hospitals or the Department of Education for like nurses and teachers, well, then they're not approved sponsors. They can be, but they're not. They're here to. There's unemployed Australian teachers and Australian nurses, and their obligation is to sponsor them. So if you're in those fields, you need to look at the private school system or the independent school system, or nursing, working at private hospitals and things like that. So they just want staff. They don't care about the Australian unemployment. So is security guards in a New South Wales list? There is a labour agreement for security professionals, and alarms, security and surveillance monitors, and as you can see, it's not listed anywhere, but there's a labour agreement. Labour agreements don't come up, and there's no approved sponsors at the moment, which is security officers there. There you go. Sydney Night Patrol and Inquiry. They're actually the first company on my list, you see. So I know that they're there and how they do it. So and they're a big company. If you're in Sydney, they're always looking for people, so they can sponsor you, and they do. So check them out. Michael Wilson. Don't forget, people, you can download Aussie Visa Mate. You can book appointments with me, and if you've got any inquiries, you can email me as well. What are we up to? 6,900. Don't forget to like, follow, and share. I've only got 31 people at the moment. We're over 50. Michael Wilson is on his third working holiday visa. He's from the UK. What a surprise. What visa would you recommend? So, Michael, one of two things will have happened to you while you've been in Australia. You'll have fallen in love with an Australian, hopefully, and then you can apply for a spouse visa, or you've been working for some person and they say, Michael, we don't want you to go. Please stay and we'll sponsor you on a 482 work visa. So those are your two options. If you're desperate to stay and you don't meet those two criteria, you've had 3 years, but if you still don't, then you can do a student visa. And I think working holiday visa people can apply on, sure, but I could be wrong. Those are sort of your three options. But normally, when I was an agent in Sydney, all of my clients were working holiday visa people who had either found love or found work, and that was the pathways they were taking. Tulan, a 309 visa processing update. It's already past 11 months. So 309 in a toolkit, processing times gets updated every month. The 309 processing time is, there it is, 17 to 26 months. Now, look, you're on a 309, you're under 17 months, which is a compelling reason to apply for priority processing. And if you've got my app under the toolkit, you can go to video tutorials, and there's one for spouse visa priority processing. And if you watch that app, or if you watch that video that's on the app, it's only on the app, can't get anywhere else. You need a compelling reason and a compassionate reason. Compassionate reasons are you've been married for a long time, or you've got a child with a relationship. There's more than that, and I list them all in the video. You've got a compelling reason until they get to that 17-month mark. So if your situation changes, you can do that. Apply for priority processing. It tells you how to do it. Tells you the website. Tells you what you need to do, etc., etc. If you want me to do it, I charge $500, but I'll do it for you. So either way, Jossie. Let me do this. That'll help me. Okay. Oh, Jesus. Jossie. Okay. Muting user, and I am muting Thelina because you are spamming. And pests don't get their questions answered. Pay for a consultation if you want one. And Akash, you're the same. I'm just going to get rid of the pests. Give me a second. Bye-bye. Okay, radio. Now, what was up to Jossie? Okay, which would you recommend my husband do first? Write the AMC exams before writing IELTS or vice versa? I don't have a recommendation for that, Jossie. It's up to you. Tulan. We've done that. Yes, the website's on dragonmigration.com. You can check the links are there. Cars for you. I'm a motor mechanic on a 482, looking for a 186. My visa is not continuing my sponsorship in Victoria as a motor mechanic. Bitsec, hi, how you going? So look, you need to find a new sponsor. If you've got my app and you go to Motor Mechanics, that's Motorcycle Mechanics. Hang on, Motor Mechanic, and you go to the job sponsors. There's plenty of approved sponsors that you can contact. Green ones are people who are looking currently. So some of them are really big companies like John Deere and all the rest of it. But yeah, you just have to look around. Hi Bitsec, give us an update on what's happening with the Android version. Are we getting anywhere? Do you need information from me? Update me, fill me in. Miss Cambo sent some roses. Hi Miss Cambo, good to see you. Hi there, thank God it's Friday FTG. Space Amphibia, traitor, disgraceful. Okay, well we can get rid of you too. So it's not a requirement for you to be here, Space Amphibian. So we don't need to put up with you anymore. I love blocking people, isn't it fantastic? We don't even need to mute them. We can just block them. They'll never be back. Medical's done, submitted. 189, hope it gets granted soon. Well, I hope it does too. The funny thing about these people, if they're not even watching, they're just here to complain. The funny thing about these people is that it's pretty obvious that everyone who's here is already in the country. It's not even going to affect things. So, and the reason we have these lists of occupations is because we can't find the people in Australia. He's probably some old retired guy who's worried about, I don't know, Asians or Indians or something like that. I don't know. So, is Chef still on the Sea Soul? Chef is on the Sea Soul, yes. So, RPL certificate in IAM, Nizamani. I don't know what IAM is. RPL certificate 3, well, doesn't matter how you got it. You got a certificate 3 in childcare. Are we eligible for sponsorship? 18 months experience. So no, you need a certificate 4, I'm pretty sure, or a diploma. So you don't meet the education requirement. So you need to do more. I'm pretty sure about that. I'm not sure if it's a certificate 4 or if it'll either say certificate 3 and 2 years experience, but you don't have the 2 years experience. So you need a certificate 4. It might say a diploma. So you're missing out on the education side of things. And then even if you met the education side of things, your 18 months experience, which probably needs to be 2 years, will be part of your education, a Cert 3 and 2 years. You'll still need another 12 months in order to get the work experience requirement for a work visa. Is marketing professional on the list? Belf, there's marketing specialist and there's sales and marketing manager. Marketing specialist. So state sponsorship, I remember no states took them. Basically, you need to be sponsored as a marketing professional. Sales and marketing manager, same story, need to be sponsored. I think I did take some sales and marketing managers on the state lists. 53 in South Australia, 36 in Western Australia. There's content creator marketing as well, which is on the Seesaw. You can get sponsored as a marketer of content creation. I'm doing professional year for 6 months, and we will lodge my EO in Victoria in March or April. Visa is expiring in May. Jesus. Nizamani, get a job as an accountant is what you need. You need to be sponsored as an accountant. I'm not sure that I don't like your chances. And if your professional year is IT, I don't like your chances either. So does total applicant mean the amount of expressions of interest? So where we've got total applicants, it sort of depends. Total applicants includes family members and things like that. So the way the data is supplied is let me say it's less than ideal. It's a snapshot of what's happened between months. So you sort of need to extrapolate a little bit of what's happening. It's really like it's not exact. If there's less than 20, they just say less than 20. So you don't know if it's one person or 20 or 19 people. But it gives you a rough indication. Like, you know, if they make 10 offers versus making 100 offers or 1,000 offers, it gives you an indication, and it gives you a relative indication based on how many people are in the queue. So if we look at accountants, because there's millions of them, so total applicants is 9,250, and they offered about 670. So you know they're only offering 7% of people, and that tells you the cutoff. We predict is 95. There were no offers last round. And because the tie break was the last month, there's no one above the tie break unless they didn't finish everyone off at that cutoff. So at the moment it's not exact, but it gives you a very good indication, because in this case, well, there's 9,000 people ahead of you, right? So and does it really matter if it's 9,200 or 8,100? I mean, there's thousands of people ahead of you. So that's what you need to be considering. And when it says the number of people offered for the EOIs, if we look at some other, well, the offers includes spouses and children. So it's the total number of people who come in. Because when the department says our planning level is 16,900, that's not primary visa applicants, that's visa applicants, including their family members. So, you know, they're not bringing in, if they were all doctors, they wouldn't be bringing in 16,900 doctors. They'd be bringing in like 10,000 doctors and 4,000 wives and 2,900 kids, right? So, yeah. Let's have a look. Miss Cambo's sending some. We got thanks going on. We hit our target. We got our 50. That's very nice. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Thanks to Miss Cambo, Jose, Creamy Mocolada. Very good. Appreciate that. Telemarky. Android, Bitek. I'll lose 50K if I can't in the next year. To buy a house, is that enough compelling? Oh, dearie me. It's not. Miss Cambo went crazy. I'm going back through it. How long do you think for me to get granted? All lodged now. Well, if you've just lodged, I think they'll be in before Christmas or February at the latest, 3 to 5 months. Bubba, what is your suggestion for us? I don't know what your system was. I don't know. Don't know, Bubba, sorry. Camillo, you're awesome. How can I book an appointment? Well, there's a link there, meeting.dragonmigration.com, and it'll take you through to the booking tree. It'll cost you, but well, you're going to have to pay because you need a waiver. Disconnect. What are you thinking for the length of time we're waiting for? David Beckham, what about the parent visa? Look, there's only one parent visa worth applying for, in my view, and that's the 870, the sponsored parent visa. It's a 3 to 5 year sponsored, basically tourist visa. You can't work, but your family can come here and do stuff. It takes under 12 months to get processed. So you need to become a sponsor, which takes about 4 months. Then you need to apply for the visa, which takes about 5 months. That is that's what you need to do. Michael the Move, you're a carpenter. How can my parents over here? They have money to pay also. As I said, there's no retirement visa in Australia. You can once you're here on your 189, there's some sort of settling requirement. You need to be a settled Australian permanent resident to be a sponsor. So, you know, they can just come and go as a tourist. That's going to be the easiest thing for you. When you get to a point like the 870 doesn't have what they call it, the balance of family test. So the parent visas have these balance of family tests where, you know, if you've got two siblings who are still back in the UK, they can't come here anyway because they've got more of their family in a different country. And if you are eligible, you can apply for the contributing parent visa, but it's a 14-year wait. So currently it's a 14-year wait. So what you can do if you want to lodge a contributing parent visa is lodge a contributing parent visa. If you want them here now, apply for an 870. You can get 2 of them and they can stay here for 10 years. And then maybe your 870 will be granted, but I doubt it. At some point in time, they're going to have to leave and be somewhere else. So, but who knows? Because the situation could very well change. Probably not for the best for parent visas. I think they should be scrapped. But in any event, that would be what you would do. If you've got plenty of money, apply for a contributing parent visa. In the meantime, apply for an 870. But you need to make sure you're eligible. If you're not here on a 189, you might not be eligible for a couple of years. So, a moment. What are the chances of invitation as a community worker? I don't know. Have you downloaded Aussie Visa Mate and had a look? Community workers, state sponsorship. New South Wales, South Australia, Western Australia, 181. If you're eligible in Western Australia, that is the place to be. 159 for regional. New South Wales and Victoria, a couple of regionals as well. So 90 points. What was we don't know the points because it's not on the 189 list and we can't get points for states. So if you have a job as a community worker, that's a good option for you. Josen, how long usually ART appeal opens the case at the moment? I've got no idea, right? So the wait time, I don't really understand your question. If they've written to you, then you're not far away, are you? They're gonna get you. They're gonna give you a hearing date, right? Bitsec is still patiently waiting for his 801. There's going to be a huge party at Bitsec's house once he becomes a full-on permanent resident. And you've seen the what's her name, Michelle, who's running the RBA, say, well, the government policy is going to push up house prices, and or I saw the inflation today was 3%. Maybe they shouldn't have reduced interest rates, which are also going to make property prices worse. There you go. Hi, Jeff, for all those people who watched or it's Wake Up Jeff, isn't it? Wake Up Jeff, for all those people who watched The Big Red Car and the what do they call them? I can't remember. It's been a while. My daughter's 27 now. So, hi Jeff, you got a question? Just ask. What state is good for painters and decorators? Gasab, the state of employment. Get employed, and you are away. Painters. Painters. State lists. 70 points is what you needed. So Western Australia was the only state employing people. Western Australia requires you to be employed for 12 months. So you need employment. Mark Tierney, lecturer, joinery, 53 UK. What's the chances of a visa? As a lecturer, I doubt lecturer. If you're a university lecturer, Townsville is your only chance. You've got to get there before you turn 55 and get on a Dharma agreement. So, but otherwise, get to Australia and marry one. So that's Mark. That's your hope. Dom, the chef cooker. Which visa can you get if you're already in Europe? We're not actually taking a lot of cooks and chefs from overseas. I think Brisbane, it's onshore only applicants and things like that. You'd need to, I don't know how old you are, but if you can get to Australia as a tourist or a working holiday visa or a student visa, find a job here, get sponsored on a 482 work visa, and then get PR. That's your plan. Mike on the move. How can I get my sister in? Her husband doing freight and shipping. Well, you can't really help your sister. They've got to apply independently. There's a 491 family stream which they didn't make an offer for 2 years, and then in the last round the government did a 491 family stream for 150 places, but it's like a very token. It's a visa of absolute last resort. If you can't do anything, you might as well put your hand up and see if you get lucky. I just did the Northern Territory. The Northern Territory's got a family stream for state sponsorship. If Mike, if you're there in the Northern Territory and you've been living there for 12 months, then and the husband is a forklift driver, which is on the it's on the Dharma agreement. I don't know. You don't need to have something that's on the Northern Territory offshore list, I think is what it's called. Then that's a possibility for you. But I've just done 4 of the 8 states, and I did see that the Northern Territory still had a state stream, which I thought was a bit strange. But if you're living in the Northern Territory for 12 months, then you could look at your sister. Buckham Ally, how much is the 309 taking if everything's good? Well, hopefully they're all good. Let's have a look at processing times. I think it was 17 to 27 months. If you go to the toolkit on Aussie Visa Mate, you will be kept up to date. And 17 to 26 months. That'll be updated next week. So download the app and keep up to date. Oops. There's another. Okay, give me a second while I. Okay, rightio. Okay, what about cabinet making? Cabinet makers need employment. They're not getting offers for 189s or 190s. Brown sheet, you lodged. How long it takes? 190s. Processing time. At the moment, it's 17 to 25 months. That's actually going to get worse because now we're processing 189 visas again. It's going to take longer. So if you applied last June, it's only been, I don't know, say, oh, maybe it's 16 or 17 months. You must be pretty close. What's the scope of business officer, business administrator? Artie, I don't think there is one. I don't think that's an occupation. We've got program and program administrator. Program or project administrator, maybe that's you. I don't know. You need to do a skills assessment. A, when can a recent invited 189 applicant expect their visa grant? So 3 to 5 months. If you just did it, then probably before Christmas. Otherwise, you are. Otherwise, February. If it's not before Christmas, by February, unless you've got a difficult case. What about restaurant managers? Where is the best state to get PR? Restaurant managers. I think you need a job as a restaurant manager. You can't get general skills migration and you can't get sponsored. So the states that are offering it, I think, there you go. ACT, Northern Territory, South Australia, Tasmania, or Western Australia with 284 offers. So I suppose Western Australia, it's a big place. Check it out. You'll need to have a job in Western Australia for 12 months to be eligible. So, I've answered Mike's question. How often the processing time updates? So the department updates them every month, usually in the last week of the month. So normally they come through Monday night of like next week. It's the last week of the month, and I update them on Tuesday. So for me, it's only a database update. So as soon as I do them, they're live on. You have to go to the app and they download straight away. So if you go to the settings, there's a reload data at the bottom there, and it updates the last month's data. How long are so appeals? It looks like they're taking about 2 years. The department's data, the last data was in May from the ART, and it looked like they were taking around 21 months, but it's probably longer than that. Yeah. Grishma, data analyst. You need sponsorship. They're not on state lists or the government list, so you need work as a data analyst. That random stalker, I am a secondary school teacher in Victoria. What are my chances for a 189 visa with 80 points? Let's have a look. Secondary school. Download Aussie VisaMate and keep up to date. So the last round was 85 points. If the next round which we think is November, because it has been for the last 2 years, if the next round is November and they do 10,000 offers, which is all the spaces that are left, then I'd say you're probably a good chance. But if they do a round of 5,000 and then they're going to do another one in the new year, for instance, then they probably won't be. The cutoff might be 85, and you might not get one. It also depends on when you applied. So if you just applied recently, you'll be the end of the people who have got 80 points. If you applied 3 years ago, then you'll be at the start of the people who have 80 points. So, but you're looking good. If you're there on a 482, you're going to get PR anyway on a 186, aren't you? So, Toffee, early childhood teacher, 80 points, 189, WA graduate. I haven't done WA for state sponsorship yet, so I can't tell you what the requirements are. But early childhood, you need 85 points. 85 points to get an independent application. There's just millions of people doing early childhood. We're up to 6,800 applicants, and it's going up about 300 or 400, 350, 400 every month. So, as you can see, there's still 215 people on 85 points. If you've got a job toffee as an early childhood teacher, then get sponsored, and that's your PR pathway guaranteed. Bloom, what about accounts payable working for a year? I think, like, it's not a regular accounts payable, accounts clerk. It's not on the list, but I think it's on some Dharma agreements. So if you're in Cairns, the Kimberley, anywhere in the Northern Territory, Orana, the Pilbara, or South Coast Victoria, you can get sponsored on a Dharma agreement, labour agreement stream 482. That's what you need, Bloom. Emilio Leifa can apply for a partner visa even if we are really young. Well, I was going to say there's no age restriction, but of course you've got to be capable of being legally married. So, which is 18 in Australia. One person can be under 18, but then you need parental permission. So anyway, you're 18 and 20. You are free to get married. You are free to apply for a partner visa. So you're good to go as long as one of you is a permanent resident or citizen. Then you're away. You'll need to have 10 grand to make the application, so make sure you're really in love. So if you need a hand with that application, then inquiries at dragonmigration.com or book a meeting with me. I can run through the process with you. Civil engineering draftsperson. Civil engineering draftsperson. Well, it's in some Dharma agreements. GSM, it's on the list. There's 5,000 applicants, which is a large number. Offers about 700, so we're taking about 14% of people. The recent cutoff was 90, which is very high, 90 points. States, New South Wales, South Australia, Victoria, and Western Australia. Western Australia took 300. Move to Western Australia if you are here, and that's where you go. Lumps, a geophysicist, I don't even need to look it up. You'll need work. Geophysicist. It's on the list. Oh, that we took less than 10, so we might have taken 1 or 2. 90 points is what you needed. State sponsorship, no offers. Regional, no offers. So really, you need work. You need a job and be sponsored as a geophysicist. Nursing, you needed 80. Was it 85 points? Or was it 80? You needed 80 points to get offered last round. If you don't have 80 points, then and there's like 6,000 people in the queue. There's a lot of people. Don't forget, all those 6,000 people, they've all got skills assessments. They're all registered to work as nurses in Australia. So there's a lot. If you can get a job, then get on a 482 and get sponsored. Pro Beast, a chef. A chef. They weren't offered in the last round. Sponsorships were available in a lot of places. Western Australia and Tasmania took 450 each, which is a lot of chefs and their families, of course. Same with the regional sponsorships, 330 in Western Australia. Tasmania, Victoria took 216. So there's a lot of state sponsorships happening for chefs. I'd expect that a lot of those chefs have studied in those states and they're going through on the state programs for students. but most of them would have to have jobs to get that requirement. So, believe full rate 2 states visa sponsorship. If you need a sponsorship, download Aussie Visa Mate, and there's lists of approved sponsors in all of the occupations. So contact them and get in touch. If it's green, if they're green, it means they're looking right now. Industrial engineers we had yesterday, and they need to be sponsored. There's no opportunities in independent migration. Mechanics needed, we've done before, we did earlier, so I'm not going to do them again. You can download the app Aussie Visa Mate and do it that way. How about information and organisation professionals? Deary me, information and organisation professionals. So state sponsorship or CSOL, you can be employed. South Australia took 44 and Victoria took 55. So the two most left-wing states needed them in their public service, in their records management. Northern Territory took 23 regionally and South Australia took 33 regionally. So that's the story. User 68 is a nurse. Please sponsor me. Unfortunately, I'm not a doctor, and I've got a beautiful Thai partner who is very caring. I've got in Thailand, they have this like, I don't know, it's like a eucalyptus type thing that they smell, and comes in a cream as well, and she rubs it over mosquito bites because the bloody mosquitoes here love me. Anyway, she's very caring, my partner. She's a goddess. K is a diesel mechanic. Okay, so we haven't looked up diesel mechanics yet. So diesel motor mechanic, it's on the list. We only took 10 and we didn't take any in the last round in August. So you need to be looking at states, no offers, regional, no offers. Now the reason the states aren't offering them is because if you're a diesel mechanic, like mines, farming, I mean, you're going to get a job, right? So you've got to get to Australia. Construction for, roads and things like that. Like there's enormous demand for diesel motor mechanics. So, apply for jobs if you're offshore. Get into Australia somehow, tourist visa, student visa, and then apply for jobs when you're here and you'll be away. Icon is interested in teacher sponsoring, so I don't know what kind of teacher you are, but what I can tell you is that if you type in secondary teachers, it comes up with a list of all the approved sponsors. It's a who's who of Australian private schools, right? Camberwell Grammar, Geraldton Grammar. I don't know who Randstad is. Oh, they're a recruiting company. Preston High, Uniting Church, King Copper-Rose Bay is where my daughter went to school. So all of these, all the schools are listed in the private sphere. They're all sponsoring people from overseas. And then you can click through on their website, go to King Koppel's website. I'm not sure what. We don't need news.com either. Okay, getting back to the app. Okay, so that's how you do it. Download Aussie Visa Mate, and it'll help you out. Elizabeth, what about truck drivers? I went through the process for truck drivers. I might do a TikTok tomorrow on truck drivers. Looking for some content. People are asking about truck drivers. Basically, you need 3 years work experience, 2 years to get the qualification if you don't have the Australian qualification, and you need 1 year's work experience, right? You can only get them on Dharma agreements. So if you get my app, Aussie Visa Mate, go to the Dharma agreements, you can see all the areas where you can be sponsored as a truck driver. But the main thing, apart from getting a job and being sponsored, you need to have a HC license. You need to have an Australian driver's license. So basically, you figure out, I'm going to move to Western Australia. You move to Western Australia, you get a tourist visa or a student visa. Somehow you get to WA, you apply for you get your truck driving license, then you get sponsored and you're away, right? And then 3 years on a Dharma agreement normally, except for South Australia, which has just become 2 years. 3 years on your work visa, and then you can apply for permanent residence under the 186 or the 191 programs, depending on which work visa you got on. So truck drivers definitely got a pathway, right? Agricultural engineers, I know from yesterday, need to be sponsored. I want to work in hotels in Australia. I have experience, but I need a visa. So look, I don't know what you're going to do in a hotel. I don't know if you're a receptionist or a hotel manager. Don't know if you're a housekeeping. Working in hotels doesn't mean anything. It's like saying I want to work in Sydney, get me a visa. So look, if you're a hotel manager, then there's opportunities for you. And in regional areas, they'll like in Cairns and places like that, they'll also sponsor people of lesser skill. Hotel and motel receptionist, hotel service manager. So in Cairns, the receptionist. In the Kimberley, the receptionist. Anywhere in the Northern Territory, the hotel or motel receptionist. Or in Townsville. So it just depends on what you're doing and where you're going. This is why Aussie Visa Mate is such a useful tool, and you should be downloading it to make your dreams reality. What is the future of Australian migration? Well, it's a really good question. Australia's always been and always is going to be a country that requires migrants. Since Federation, 30% of the population was born overseas. And that's been the case every year. Now, back in Federation, granted, they were all British or Scots or Irish or whatever, and that proportion of people has changed over the years. Post-World War II, we had a lot of Italians and Greeks come and, build the Snowy Mountain scheme and all that kind of stuff. But, that's 70 years ago. That's always held out as this is why migrants are good for Australia. The problem is that was 70 years ago, and there's not been another situation where that's been the case since. It's sort of like saying the Model T Ford was great for the automotive industry. It's not a great argument anymore. It might have been in the 70s, but no longer. But then, we in the 70s, we had a lot of Vietnamese people come here because of the Vietnam War. We've had Koreans from the Korean War. We've had Chinese because of the Hong Kong handback. We've now got a lot of Chinese. We had a lot of Japanese in the 70s because their economy was booming. And so there's always been and now we've got a lot of Indians, of course, and Chinese. So there's always been a lot of people from a lot of different countries coming here and calling Australia home. And that's going to continue to be the case. If the way America's going, we're probably going to get a lot of Americans pretty soon. Who knows? But the thing is that we just have too much at the moment. We need a break. We've got way too many international students. And it's not fair on the people who are already here. It's not fair on the international students because they're coming here being told by their education agents, who aren't Australians, they're people in China and India predominantly, telling them that, do this course and you're going to get PR. We've got 1 million students, we've got 30,000 places. So as an international student, you've got almost no chance of getting PR at the end of it. That we need to cut back on migration, but the government is just so addicted to the Ponzi scheme of the money coming in and not supplying the visas, lying about the fee, lying about the net migration. We need to cut back. Every other country except for Australia has cut back on their migration. Canada's cut back. The UK's cut back. America's cutting back. They're all cutting back. Germany's cutting back. All of the sort of heavy pro-migration companies have just gone, we've got too much. We've overdone it. We've got to stop. But Australia's still going hell for leather, and it's got to stop. Unfortunately, it's not going to stop because we've got a Labor government who've almost got absolute power for the next 3 years. So their record on migration's atrocious unless you're a migrant and you can get here. But housing is just going up, and services delivery times are falling away. So there needs to be a pause. So there you go. That's my view on the future of it. Following's free. If you're a follower, if you're not a follower, follow. Lift gifting, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to be here for 13 more minutes. What's your app, Elizabeth? The app is called Aussie Visa Mate. If you look at the text there, there's avm.dragonmigration.com. That'll take you through the App Store and you can download it. Or if you want to book a one-on-one appointment with me, you can go to meeting.dragonmigration.com. That'll take you to my calendar and you can book a meeting with me. And if you want to drop me an email and ask a couple of quick questions, you can do that. Email me, or you can direct message me in TikTok or on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube, because this is dual streamed. I can help you out. Is a TRT achievable without an McDara? It is, but the problem with an employer nomination application is it's two phases. The employer needs to lodge their stuff, and then the applicant needs to lodge theirs. And there's sort of this, the employer doesn't want to give their financials to the applicant to do it on their behalf, and a lot of the employers, they're busy running their businesses. They don't want to be filling in paperwork for the department. It's definitely achievable. I just don't recommend it. There's lots of things can go wrong, and I don't recommend it. It's not a tourist visa. And look, at the end of the day, like I charge $4,000, right? So at the end of the day, so it's $2,000 for the nomination, $2,000 for the visa. At the end of the day, it's your life, right? Yeah, I make this argument. If there's been an accident at the house, you got to take someone to the hospital. Do you put a learner in the driver's seat, or do you put someone who's got 20 years experience, right? Like the learner will probably get there 9 times in 10. But when it's your life, you really, it's not the time to be trying to save money or take shortcuts. You want to be ensuring that you're not snatching defeat from the jaws of victory, right? You're almost there. God. Oh. Okay. Engineering professional, not elsewhere classified. Engineering professional. There it is. It's on the list. We predict the cutoff is 90, but they didn't offer anyone last round. In terms of the states, 20 in Victoria, probably students. So you need a employment offer. You need an employment offer as a engineer, not elsewhere classified. Moogies, developer program, 491 Western Australia, 90 points. Look, I think if you're a programmer, you really need to be employed. I think all the IT professionals are like that now, but let's have a look. Analyst programmer, there it is. States, Western Australia, it's listed, no offers. Regional, Western Australia listed, no offers. There you go. That's the answer to your question. You need a job, and then you get it sponsored on that job. I have an agricultural degree from QUT, but no onshore experience. Currently on 485. So you need to get experience. That's what the 485's for, is so you can get work. Just keep applying for jobs until you get some. I don't know what field in agriculture you're in, but yeah, you can't get a work visa without 12 months work experience. So, and your work experience needs to be post-qualification. So if you don't have a qualification overseas, even if you worked, I don't know, on a farm or whatever before you came here and did your degree, or maybe you had a diploma or something, I don't know exactly what your situation is, but you need to get 12 months, at least 12 months post-qualification work experience. I think Queensland has, the Queensland, I just did Queensland, so I probably should know. You just need you did a degree, so their student stream is you need 6 months work experience for a regional, and you might get a 491 visa, but I don't know how many of them they grant. So that's another option for you. PRAS, my student visa expiring in this March. So what's the best time to apply for visa extension? Well, whenever you're eligible, you can apply. So obviously before March 2026. I don't know what you can't extend a visa. You can only apply for a new one. So I don't know if you're going to apply for another student visa or you're going to apply for your graduate visa. I don't know, but you just apply when you're eligible. So how hard is it to get PR after completing certificate level and bachelor level in automotive in Perth? Well, if you're applying for general skills migration, you need to have points. So you need 85 points, wasn't it? That's the wrong one. That one there for a mechanic. Motor mechanic. So we say you'll need 85 points. They didn't make any offers last round. From the state point of view, the states, they took various numbers of mechanics because we need mechanics. Regions, they're only taking small numbers, and there's, like when I mean small, I mean like 50 people, and there's 3,000 mechanics trying to get in. So if you're here and you've studied, you need to get 12 months work experience. You can get that on your 485 if you've done a degree, or you can, if you've got a job but you don't have 12 months work experience, you can apply for a trainee visa or a 407 and get your experience that way, and then do a 482. So, but you know, if you've done automotive, there's plenty of work available for mechanics. You should be able to get a job. And the good thing about the trainee visa and the 485 visa for the employer is there's no minimum salary obligation, so they can pay you peanuts and you can get your work experience. Just don't get taken advantage of. Why did you say there's no chance of international students getting PR? Well, because there's 1 million international students and there's 30,000 places. So you don't need to be a maths graduate to figure it out. 30 to 1, right? Civil draftsperson, moving right along. Civil draftsperson. Well, we've already done civil draftsperson. Let's do someone else. In Western Australia, they take plenty. You need 90 points, and Western Australia took 326. Depeche, IT telecommunications. Are you a telecommunications field engineer or a network planner? I don't know exactly which one you are. Or is it ICT? ICT trainer? No, I don't know. There you go. Depeche, you'll need to fork out some money, download my app, and pay for the VIP section to look up your occupation. You know, construction project managers are in enormous demand. Construction estimator, construction project manager. It's on all the lists. There's 1,900 people trying to get in here. You needed 90 points in the last round. And state sponsorship, New South Wales took 300. Queensland only took 41. They're trying to build the Olympic Games. They only need 41 project managers. I'm sure they'll need more soon. Western Australia's got 73. Regional areas, the same sort of story. New South Wales, 150 construction project managers. I mean, it's an enormous amount for New South Wales. Any advice for people who are already on a 491 visa? Not really, just keep at it. You'll get there eventually. Look, I don't recommend the 491 visa. The processing time takes forever. You're trapped for forever. It's not a good option for people. But if you're on one, well, it's great, right? Because you're living the dream. So, Celia, I have a positive skill assessment in aged care and disability, but I have to find an employer. So, Celia, download my app, Aussie Visa Mate, job sponsored, aged care. There are plenty of companies listed there. Many of them, like Wesley Mission, Baptcare, Bupa, Regis. I mean, they've got multiple sites all around the place. I keep saying to people, I lived in Byron for 6 years, Byron Bay, and there's many aged care facilities in Byron, in Ballina, in Bangalow, and they're all run by with a dozen permanent staff and shitloads of contractors who are costing them $2,500–3,000 a week. They would love to sponsor permanent staff at $52,000. So get into the regional areas. That's what I can suggest to you. Barbers are hairdressers. Hairdressers are not they might be on the list, but they're not getting state sponsorship. Barbers need to be employed, and you need to earn $76,515. You can't be self-employed. You need to be on the payroll. What about social workers? The ECT with 95 points for a 491, you've only got 80 points. You don't have enough points. So I don't think you've got any chance. You need a job. There's almost 7,000. In fact, there will be 7,000 by now. 7,000 ECTs. It's just getting harder. If you don't have work, you're not going to get an offer. So get work in the field. Work for 4 years with children. That's why you did the course. So off you go. Social workers. Last question. Social workers, caring profession, that's for jobs. Social workers are on all the lists. There's 1,000 applicants. We only took 170 last year. We didn't take any in August, so hopefully in the next round. States. New South Wales, Victoria and Western Australia took 20 each. It's not very many. Regional. New South Wales only. You need a job as a social worker. That is the story. Page, currently on a 482. What happens if I've taken 6 weeks holiday? Well, you're allowed to take paid leave, and you get 4 weeks annual leave every year. So you're allowed to take paid leave. If you've taken unpaid leave, then you might be in a bit of a bind. You might need to apply for another 482 visa. Okay? But if you've taken paid leave, you're good, because that's part of your employment conditions. Okay, people, 6 o'clock's up. Done it for 2 hours. The app's there. New version's coming out tomorrow or the day after, depending on how long Apple takes to do it, which will have the awesome state sponsorship wizard, which will tell you which states will sponsor you based on your situation, work experience, study background, and location. Which would be a really cool feature. It's part of the toolkit, so everyone will have access to it. So there you go. Have a great day. Thanks for watching, and